Birthday calendar? Cool. You have it, make sure we get that. Okay, so, am I on? Let me make sure. Oh, I am on. I'm sorry. AP Stats, this is section 1.3b. This is our last section before our test. We're going to hop right into our box plot. My main thing is just to kind of review and to get it on that podcast that's there. So what I'd like to do, Aaron, what's up, dude?
I'm playing with my clothes. My love is in here.
I think they might be on your body, my guy.
My PT clothes.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's go.
See you, man.
You're on the podcast.
Hey, you better post the podcast
Is that
now.
just podcasted? I'm going to keep that on there.
You have to keep that.
Keep that on there.
I'm looking
All
for
right.
my clothes.
That could go south. I could get fired for that.
What?
Good night. All right. Wow. I'm totally thrown off. Median is where? Where's the median for us? For our context, because I have mine, but I know our classes was different. It was 8. Okay, perfect. And where was the minimum? 0. And where was the Q1? 0. Yeah, this was a little weird, right? And then where was Q3? 13. Good. And where was the maximum? 19. That was beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so we talked about this, right? This idea of median. How the median was actually the what percentile? 50th, right? And what was the Q1? 25th percentile, and then the Q3 was the 75th. And again, I'm getting this on the podcast. This was a review for us. But IQR was what? What was the formula for IQR?
Q3 minus Q1.
Good, Torrance. Q3 minus Q1. And in the context of what we're doing, what would be that IQR there, Torrance? 13. Good. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's how we would put that down. Good. Okay, so if IQR is here, someone stand up and tell me what would 13 represent with percentile.
75, the middle 50.
Good, Eric. It's the middle 50%. Got me? IQR, you want to get that down. That's really important. IQR, thank you. I took that from you. You're good. IQR is the middle 50%. If you haven't gotten that down, make sure you do that. So the middle 50% is our IQR. And we talked over that, okay? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. We didn't talk about outliers yet, right? We were about ready to. And we're going to go into that today. To be honest, a lot of the stuff, we were so far ahead yesterday that a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is review and really repetitions and making sure that we're good to go on the application side, okay? So what I'd like to do is real quick, I want you to get this down, and if it's one of those things you want to go back on the podcast and check out, that's perfect. But I want to make sure we just address a couple things. In finding the median, choose this one. If I had an odd number, how would I find the median? Grace.
You add average.
Yeah, so if it's an even, we get the middle right up here, right? We get to the middle, 8 and 10, and we find that median value, which would be 9. Good. So 9 in this context would be our median, right? Now this is an example. This is just an example. If you don't have this down, you can put it on the side. But I do better. Some of you learn better with words. I learn better by just an example. And I've got both here, but I want to make sure we hit the example first. What would I do to find Q1? Over here. What would be Q1? Yeah, Fiona.
Q1 would be between
1 and...
Or like, well, 1 and 8.
Yes. Which would be what? 3. Good. Did you see that? Now, we didn't hit that, I don't think. Remember, if there's an even number, and I kind of put it down here, if even, we find the average of the middle two values. We've already done that. But if there's an even number here, the one that's least goes to the left, and one that's the highest goes to the right. Does that make sense? So that middle value would be 3 there. Fiona, what would be Q3? Nice. Yeah, do you see that? So this one would go here. So Q3 would be 11. That would equal Q3. Good. Questions there? Right. Okay, so we've got that one. What about if it's odd? What do we do there, Yvonne? Yeah, which would be what? You're right. 8. Good. So this is our median. And someone else help me. What would be my Q1? Rita, what do you think on the Q1 side? It's a little bit tougher, isn't it?
2.
Why is that tougher?
Oh, would it be 2 and 12?
Yeah, it's not even. It doesn't break even.
Attaboy.
Do you know what we do with that middle number?
Oh, wait, no.
We throw it out when we find our Q1. Okay? So if that is an odd number and we have one median, throw it out. It doesn't go either way. And then we just find what from 1 and 3?
Average.
Yeah, what would be Emily?
2.
2 would be the average, what Emily said, and it would be that value of 2, which would be equal to Q1. Nicely done. Okay? Does that make sense? What would be Q3 again, Rita? Good. Yeah, nice job. So 12 would be Q3. 8 wouldn't go one way or the other. Okay? I wanted to show that to you because there's just 2 examples. And again, I got it in words, so if you're more auditory and that's how you learn, I put it down here. So what's the median score? If there's an odd number, we take the middle value. If it's even, we average it together. Q1 is the median of the first half, right? Q3 is the median of the second half. And then the big note is kind of what Rita just kind of helped us with, is that if we have a median value and it's the middle number, we throw it out. If it's just 1, and then we find Q1 and Q3 on both sides, okay? Good. If you're good, say uh-huh. If you're good, say oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Whoa. Need some help. All right, so here we go. As we continue, we've already hit on this. I think this is where y'all recorded that, right? The data already. So we've done that already. So we'll check that off. Man, we're ahead of the game, which is good. What percentage is related to the median? 50 Q1?
25.
Q3?
75.
Q3 minus Q1,
Is the
IQR.
which is what? What,
Which
50%?
one the 50?
What 50%? That's good, Ivana. The
Middle.
50. You might have said that. I probably wasn't listening. Middle 50%. Good. What is? Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stop there. That's it. Okay, questions on this? All right, here's the deal. Really, the new thing that we're gonna talk about is this right here. This can be very confusing. So I know you're tired because it's the end on a Friday, and you're ready. Ready for the weekend? Me too. This right here is a big deal. Okay. How many of you have lost sleep in the last week or two because? No, like yes, no sleep. I will tell you. I'll ask you. How many of you have lost sleep because I've said with outliers, you'll just say that I think this is an outlier, and you really don't know. Does anyone lose sleep over the fact that it's like what denotes an outlier? Anybody lose sleep?
Outlier.
Oh, I thought you were literally like it's gonna say because of school.
Oh, because of school? Oh, good.
I don't lose sleep
Stats.
over
No.
that.
All right, so here's the thing. If you have lost sleep over that, okay, Torrance, I know you have. We have a hard, fast rule right now. You ready? All right? I'm about ready to give this to you. All right, this is a golden nugget. This is a big deal. From now on, you can't just say, I think this is an outlier. Now you have to actually show it, okay? So with socks, you actually have to show it. But it's not that big of a deal. It's 2 formulas that are very similar, but you do need to memorize and you do need to know this. It's not on the formula sheet, okay? All right, so with that being said, let's look at it. The formula is the way too small value and then the way too big value, all right? So if I look at the top one, what's Q1 again? 25. Is it 25th percent, right? In our context, Tony, what was Q1 on our context? Wasn't it 0? Was it 0?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put whatever our context is, it's 0 minus 1.5 times, and what was our IQR again? I forgot.
13.
13? Okay. Was it 13? Is that
Yes.
right? Perfect. All right, we'll put 13 in. Okay? So this is the first formula, and all I want you to do is just put less than 0 minus 1.5 times 13. Okay? Now the next one, let's go to the next one. Way too big would be greater than, what's Q3? 13, right? Yeah. Minus 1.5 times 13. Okay? So really quick, one person kind of do the top up there. Just throw it in your calculator. One person put the bottom down. And we're going to find, this is the small value, and this is the big value. Okay? Again, this is the big concept right here. Negative 19.5. Nice. Tony, do that in your head there? Nicely done. Good. What's the bottom one in your head?
Negative 6.5.
This one down here? Or is it positive 6.5?
Negative 32. Oh, you have to add. There should be an addition.
Oh, this should be addition.
Oh.
Bad coach Jay. Sorry. It's adding, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So what would it be? 26.0, right? Cool. Okay. So you're saying, Coach, what in the world? You do that faster than I do, though. I'm just going to call that out. That was pretty impressive. It's impressive. Is that right? 32? 32.5. That's okay, Tony. You rocked it. Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Read it in? Your head calculator? Oh, your calculator. Yeah. I got you. I love it. I love it. So here's the thing. Big concept here. You ready? What we've done right now is we've created an imaginary range. Okay? That's how I want to teach this. I taught it differently in the past years, and this just makes sense to me. We've created an imaginary range. Now, these two values are not what we found, right? We didn't find those yesterday when we played Greed. We just have these right here from our outliers. If there is a value that is less than negative 19.5, we're going to say that it is an outlier. If there is a value that is greater than 32.5, then we're going to say it is an outlier. If all values fall between those two, we say that there are no outliers. Does that make sense? So let me show you on the box plot. That way we kind of have seen this and kind of tell you how this will work. So if you come here, you'll notice what's our maximum value? 19. Yeah, good, Eric. So that means that 32.5 is like an imaginary line that's right here for our outliers. That from our center, let's do this one right here. From our center, whatever that distance is the distance that encompasses any of the values that could be within there without it being an outlier. Now let's pretend Coach Jay's really good at this game, okay? And he got 36, cool, in the Greed game. What would happen with that? It's an outlier, right? So if I put 36 over here and I put one way out here, because it comes past this line, we would have an outlier out on this side. So what happens to this?
Stretches out to that number.
Jared, that's a pretty good thought there, it really is. It actually stays here, okay? Because I haven't taught that yet. It stays here, and what happens is now at 36, we have a star that represents the outlier that's on the outside. Cool? The next value that's on the inside, in this case, would have been 19. That's where that whisker stops, okay? So again, we represent that as an outlier, and that where the whisker stops on the right side, that would be the value where we would stop on that side. Got me? Does that make sense? Okay. Now again, I think there was a negative outlier here, where if I got a negative, we can't get a negative in this game, so there will be no outliers. But if I, for some reason, got something that was negative 21, that would also have a star on that side too. Okay. Can you have more than one outlier?
Yes.
Yes. So if Charles ended up doing the same thing, got 40 on that game, then we would say that that would be 2. We'd have 2 stars there, okay? And you would represent that as follows, okay? Questions on that part? How do y'all feel on that? Feel Gucci?
Oh my God.
Y'all say that nowadays? Gucci?
Yeah, we kind of.
I'm trying to be hip a little bit, just a little bit.
It's okay.
I need to stop trying? Is that what you're saying? Did someone say that? Okay, let's do this. Here's what I want. I need you to rep this out, okay? So I'm going to have you rep this out in your groups. To do this, I want you to, from the data that you see up here, the males and females, and I'll leave this up on the board, I want you to create 2 box and whisker plots here from the following data here, okay? It's important you actually rep this out. When you do that, make sure that you check for outliers, right? And make sure that you also label the 5-number, we call it the 5-number summary, right? Which is, what is the 5-number summary,
It's Q1.
Claudia?
Minimum, Q1, median, Q3, maximum.
Bingo, bingo. Ivana, you've been rocking it. That's right.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I
It's
realized.
okay.
So you would do that for both of those there, okay? Questions? All right, before you go, before I launch you off, I do want you to also get this down. On the comparison side, big deal. If I have 2 different distributions and I say compare, do not say the shape is this, the shape is this. Okay, actually compare. So you're going to use words like this is less than this, or this is greater than this, or it's similar to this. Things like that will allow you to compare in our comparison words that will get you the full credit on the actual AP exam. Cool? All right. Sounds
Charles,
good.
what are you doing?
Okay, so the thing is, I messed up, and this should be right here. So.
So you're a female.
Charles is a
Yeah,
female.
I messed up.
All right, so Charles, you have to adjust from Charles. Charles not there.
Charles
Hey, real
is
quick,
female.
you got right now. You got 5 to about 6 minutes to be able to complete that. I might extend that a little bit. Go right ahead, and I'm gonna go around and see. You go ahead and continue. Okay? Go.
I question myself.
Ivana, my fault. Sorry about that.
So we're doing this together or individually?
So,
Okay. So you're gonna look for eyes or you're
That's right. Strong guys.
What number again?
Oh, you missed.
This one over here is 24 and 26. Right there.
I mean, keep moving it, so like every time I look at it, it's different. So like it's shaped weirdly right now. Okay. Okay. I don't know which part of it.
I feel how girls use almost all things.
Here, where's your starting line?
Oh, my
Make
bad.
sure we gap that out.
Yes, sir.
Write it out there.
what do you mean?
So we're doing
Which one are you confused with?
I didn't know you were good at art.
These up here.
Draw lines.
That's so easy.
So I would say that's 8. That's 9.
I draw.
That's 11. 13.
I'm just drawing noses. Are we drawing noses?
This one would be 9 here.
These are really hard.
Yeah, I'll try
It's a little tough. I should have given more room.
Ears and noses and teeth are similar.
If I'm like actually trying, I can make it nose. Yeah, see, that's just trash.
Wait.
Yeah, so I think there's one for males and females, right?
What is that supposed to be? What part of it is?
Hey, another way to find Q3, Q1 is to go to one bar stats, right? You can do that as well.
Would make my life a lot easier than it is right now.
You see that better?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's looks like it's tower now. Never mind. I screwed up.
Why does it look like my nose anyway?
It doesn't look it. It doesn't look like England.
I'm trying to make it like a giant nose. Hey!
Okay.
Got good?
Yeah,
That's not.
It's a cartoon art style.
Hold on to those for some videos.
This part. You know,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that a little louder?
What is that?
Oh, word? That's what you said.
Yes.
One guy. Better than this.
Ha!
I'm sorry. This is more like that one.
She pointed at mine.
I'm actually fine.
You need to be paying attention to our friend Claudia. That's so rude.
Wait, word? We said we were friends?
The median of
Exactly.
18 or 19. Actually, I did.
it's all like
Are you
numbers
legally
on
allowed
it.
to
It's a
try?
little hard to see, isn't it?
Oh wait, it's like in between
I'm
it,
not
yeah.
even kidding.
You have contacts?
So then
Yeah,
you're
but my vision's really, really bad.
And get retested?
Well, every year
I have like 20
it's like 7.
wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, like it's bad. I
Wow,
was
that is pretty bad.
They open 8 for your family line.
I do.
Miss Jean said, did you get in trouble,
You
Ivana?
know Chris Montel?
You said, did y'all get in trouble?
We went to
Miss Jean said, uh-oh.
Yeah, where'd you guys
We
write
went
this
to
down?
first lunch on accident.
I love to go to the
Well, I don't think that has to do with her.
Didn't.
No, yeah.
And it makes me
It's not
so
her
mad.
fault. That's just not fun.
Do we ever turn in our notes or just for our references?
For your reference.
They keep,
I missed like the Q1 stuff like on this, so I wasn't sure. I have mostly filled out though.
Good, good. More for you just to go back to. Like, this is important because we're repping it out together, right?
Yeah.
I just can't say
What have you been
It's so different when
I
someone
thought
actually
you were about to
saying
jump in.
clear road is. Why did I not?
reactions. Here we go.
Tell me why I'm a better singer than Josh.
That is that.
Wait,
So it's
That was flat.
Me or Josh?
Me.
Oh.
And both of you. Both of you were trash, but.
Rita's birthday's in April. I didn't know that. I didn't know your birthday was in April.
Yeah.
You guys
Your
were.
birthday
We actually
No,
are
you didn't.
Y'all are like being, y'all
I
are
know.
really close.
But we didn't.
We harmonized the flat together. Yeah. Okay, you ready? Flat like.
Gosh, is this movie 19 or 18?
Let's say 19.
no, dude.
You guys sound like the beginning of that like movie thing. Do you remember?
Wow.
Is it a good
Oh
movie?
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, like the.
No,
not the
No,
good
no,
one.
no.
No,
like
the
the,
third,
like the
the
one that's like
THX.
singing loud.
Yeah, THX.
Oh, the GH.
That thing
When
is-
like it blows your ears out.
Let's keep working. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We can talk and
You
go.
just offended my singing coach. Hey.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Oh, I
Yes,
was
Now let's go.
On the males,
Go.
is this by the 8? Is that a 9 and 3 8s or is it 4 8s?
And don't forget
I'd say
Charles
that's
is
a 9 right
26
there.
because he messed up.
And then this is 3 8s and 1 9. That's what I would say.
It's still low.
You guys can't sing. It's okay to not be able to sing. Josh, you still get parts.
Guys, where's your stuff on me?
I left the note sheet at home. I thought I put it in my folder and then forgot again.
Wait, you told me you threw it in the trash.
No, I didn't.
No,
No,
I'm
it's
just kidding.
not. Never
I'm
did
just
that.
kidding, Coach Jay.
I never
Take
did
these
that.
tickets. Take
It is
away
literally-
these tickets.
I know exactly where it is.
I'm
Just
just,
still get something down.
I'm just kidding, Coach
So
Jay.
you're gonna hate
I mean, I've been like writing stuff.
Cool.
Oh, you're doing something?
I'm gonna give you just a couple more minutes left. Again, once you break that last one,
Okay, Liz. So group.
Glad you guys are helping me.
I say males are more gamblers compared to females. And then they always end up losing. So
True. Guys were really risk takers.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
but
it
it's
didn't
just
end up
talking
paying.
about.
Guys got
look,
less.
we got less because we're
We
bigger
have a
risk
lot more
takers.
zeros than y'all do because we took more risk and it didn't pay off.
Well, actually,
I'm saying we have more zeros.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
okay.
oh, this one's supposed to be down here.
Haha. And we did like a slow, like not loud. Okay, so like that's like how you want to
On palm.
I guess we gotta go sideways. We have to like slap it hard.
So which would you
That
like?
one didn't hurt. Let's go. Okay, I like it. I like it. I like it.
Exactly. Good, good. Does that make sense? So anything that falls outside of the outline would be like my outline, the new value that's inside.
Let's sing a song we all know. So what are the distributions?
No, never mind.
0, 8, 9, 13. 26 is the maximum, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that was Charles.
No, what is 26? It's 26 in the end.
Right.
Y'all have about 3 or 4 minutes to write context and size on the comparison, okay? Hopefully you're at that point.
0, 0, 8, 12. Oh gosh, we get those back. Can you tell us the average score on those?
I can't draw things like that.
Give us the average score on the quiz. Like for our class period. Or
Yes, because I remember seeing it.
Number
was like
Oh no, remember counted 20.
okay, so I wasn't the one that did bad.
Like 13.
I got a.
You already got it.
Sorry, for,
Higher than last year.
Yeah, it was yesterday. I mean, it was in yesterday.
I don't look at my grades that often.
I got a 70.
Ever since it changed on haiku and then on my homepage,
Oh yeah, I love how haiku that. I don't know.
haiku, like, I didn't care for it, but that homepage was like, they nailed
That
it.
homepage had all my assignments.
I had
all my
everything.
I know, now you have to do so much like moving around.
It's
to
like
get everything.
Spotify compared to Apple Music. It's like everything is so accessible on Spotify and Apple Music. You can like search up everything.
I love how much you guys find helpful with this. I just love that.
Are y'all done over there?
Yeah, we gave her some suggestions. And she was like, "No, you're wrong."
That's just not true.
Tell me I didn't say guys were more risk takers, and you said no.
Yeah, that doesn't help me, does it?
What do you not?
Oh, we
what are
doing
you not
just
sure on? What do you
quantitative data, or are
compare?
we doing qualitative?
You're not.
No, you're comparing socks.
Yeah, that's why we're
Oh.
not need it. You haven't asked for specific help yet.
Yeah, because they're outlined.
I'm with y'all here. Like y'all are the But I didn't get the
How's it coming to you, right?
Yeah, what's that?
I didn't get it back with the
It's just like hard to get used to, like with the.
someone else.
It's easy because there's a pattern with what will be on the AP exam. Like there will be one either comparison or socks every time. So if we just keep doing it, it'll get. That was actually the best thing on the quiz. We rocked that.
Transphobic person. You can just be loud.
I'm gonna work on yours, Grace.
I got that last
I'm just gonna, throw it up.
Clearly, that font is too small for you. Let me help you.
Like Helen Keller.
You guys are struggling.
Guys,
That
let's
was
get going,
fun.
Jared.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ivana made us laugh with their shirt. Was that freshman or
For the-
sophomore year shirt?
You have that lock spot?
No, yeah, because unplugged is soft.
What was the?
Oh yeah.
This was a. Perfect. For this one?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my god, you heard that voice.
Say again.
Most
24
of the
one.
time I got
So this one. So that should be here, right? What was the maximum for the male side? 18.
They don't have that.
I should know that. Let's see if
Oh wait.
what was the median?
Wait, Charles
Oh, I was
24. Charles missing.
Wait, was that?
I
Oh, no.
Just go with where you're at.
That was good. Okay.
Yeah, I was. Charles, you missed the
So would I not announce in the beginning that was supposed to be?
Not too red, not too red.
Yeah.
It's a little red.
Oh,
I you're doing it.
Yeah, Charles says I was down to 26.
So 1.5
Down to 26.
times.
I just left out the 26.
Yeah, we didn't count Charles's.
Okay, just go with it. That's fine.
Go with.
Go with whatever you have.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, because Charles screwed up, so we just didn't use his.
So it'd be well, do you have the outliers for this one or no?
No, we have to do both. So Q3 times 1.5, so 13 and 1.5 was 19. 19.5 minus 0, 19.5 is the outliers. Is the outlier 6.
That's what I got.
There's a hole within those values. So we get
Wait, do we need 4
19.5.
outliers? 2 for the top, 2 for the bottom left? Okay, so top outlier is 19.5.
You have an outlier for the girl side?
So
Yeah.
we would
That's the wrong.
Okay. No, the way we do it.
My calculator is good.
0. So it's minus. Like it's 1.5 times.
Do this. Each one's going to be different. You just go with it. Cool? Compare it. I'm going to do a different one with comparison, and that way we've got it. Alright, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to wrap it up, and then we're going to go into one.
I love
We share a left hand. We have to love each other. We're like siblings because our dad. Like you're his husband. So what does that make me?
it. 7.5 is actually small.
How are y'all doing? Y'all doing okay?
Pretty good.
How did the comparison?
19.5. Oh god,
Yeah.
that was not supposed to be that.
So, no, that's good.
7.3? What is wrong with Lucy?
I went the small one.
Yeah, how would you
know how to
like
Yeah.
Where'd you get 5 from? Where's the 5 from?
Yeah.
5.
Oh, okay, so we would just say that.
We were worried about list time. There was no flat list.
Yeah, you could say something to the effect
Look at his
of,
IQR,
this
right?
one
Or
is
just
approximately right, whereas this one is one that would
Oh.
be approximately.
Oh, and I.
Yeah, the less than
IQR
greater
was
than
5.
similar to really wouldn't be the case there. Wouldn't be an
For the
yeah.
guys and girls, I
Fiona, you got
feel
something?
18. For one of them, it's 5.
So our outliers at
I'm still remember how to calculate.
So the outlier is what?
You just tell me how
Q1 minus Q3.
So
Or
0.
Q3 minus Q1.
Oh, okay. So this
Difference of Q's.
So 9 times
Are there?
1.5.
So what you would do is then you would go.
So 13.5.
You go 0, 24, and then where was your next value on the inside? 18. And what about on the left side?
Like
8. Perfect. So now these are the new minimums, and now attack it that way. Does that make sense? Where was the median?
9.
Good. And where's the Q1?
Go 8.
And where's
Plus
Q3?
5 plus 13 is 26.5.
So this is what I see right there. 18 was the next value other than 20.
What'd you say?
Does that mess up our calculation? Go back and find a new
Josh Johnson. Oh,
Q1
sorry.
and Q3 since they're a different minimum.
Yes, you're right.
No, you don't have to do that. No, it doesn't affect that. It just affects the way we do things.
He's like, yes.
That would be awful.
I was like,
Be awful. Okay, hey, do this for me. Give me your eyes. Give me your attention. If you are still writing, that's okay. That's fine. I would say this. One of the things you'll notice on the notes, every time on the back of the notes, I like to do a check your understanding. Sometimes we do it. Sometimes we just don't have time. But I want to point you to that in case you needed like a checkpoint to be able to see if you really understand it, okay? If that's the case, that's a great help session to just come in and get that help if you're struggling on that. One of the things I wanted to show you that I saw, and these aren't the exact values, so don't worry about it. But what I did want to just show you is if I had something that looked like this, right? Someone tell me, sorry, that should be a box, my fault. Is that, what type of shape is that? Skew to the right side, good. It's sometimes hard to see the shape, isn't it? So if it's between, you could go one way or the other, just go with it and then make sure you defend that. What would this be? Outlier, and what's this value?
Max.
The next value, which is the maximum, right? Good, good. Questions? Okay, one more thing, and we're just going to talk through this, and then we're going to do the hot seat to wrap up, okay?
Define the difference between like a maximum and an outlier. If it's if the outlier is like R to the right or whatever.
Yeah, good question. That's a good question, Josh. So if I came back here, based on what I have here, we would say, let's say this 38 was an outlier, right? Because it was greater than what our range was when we used the formula. This 35 would mean that that's the next value that's not an outlier.
Oh, so it falls in the range that you got in the formula.
Correct. Good question. One thing that I wanted to just hit on, 5-number summary. This is like our golden nugget, okay? Like if I had the snapshot about what today you need to know, 5-number summary, you've got that. The formulas for the outliers, make sure you've got that down. And then also when it says compare, make sure you don't list, but you actually compare off that, okay? All right, sound good?
Perfect timing.
Got me, Tony? He's taking a picture. That's why I just wanted to be in the picture. All right, sound good. So here's what we've got. The last thing here is, all right, someone real quick on this. If we were comparing these 3 graphs, someone compare the shape real quick. We're going to do this quickly.
Q to the right.
Okay, Massachusetts, was that you, Fiona? Good, Massachusetts is skewed to the right compared to?
Well, Maine is 2, but Connecticut is approximately.
So yeah, I could see either of them. I would say, if that's approximately normal, just go ahead and say that. Hey, this is approximately normal where Massachusetts, if I can close the circle, is skewed right, whereas Connecticut would be also approximately symmetric or approximately normal too. Excellent. What would be the, someone compare outliers.
Connecticut doesn't have any outliers, whereas Massachusetts has one at like
425.
430-ish.
40.
And Maine has one at 1.
Guys, chill. Hey, listen, when she's talking, respect her.
Oh,
Got me? Thank you. Go ahead, Ivana. You were saying?
And Maine has one at like 160-ish. So.
And I'm good with that. Like, if you just say approximately, that's good. And if it's not exact, they won't count off for that. That's good. Center. Someone give me center. Jared, what about center?
Center, comparing them all.
Yeah.
So the center The center, Maine has the smallest center, or
Okay.
about 50, and then Connecticut is about 60, and then Massachusetts has the biggest one at around 90, 95.
That's perfect. You rock that. That's exactly right. And then Claudia, could you help me with the last one with spread? What do we see about spread?
Well, Massachusetts has the largest spread of all, and it's about like 325 is like the range. And then Connecticut is like less than that, which is about 125. And then Maine is even less than that, and it's like right at 100-ish.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Questions on that? Brock and Tony?
So we got outlier for the range.
That's a great question. I need a. Jeez, I just had a brain fart. Let me check on that. I don't remember. That's embarrassing. Sometimes I mess up.
Is it still
too.
on the podcast?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
If you're administration watching, I know what I'm talking about. This is a learning moment. Okay? No, but I do. I need to check that. The answer I believe is yes. Yes, it is. You still take it with the range. I just want to double check that. But for right now, we'll say yes.
Cool. That would mean that Maine has a higher range than Connecticut.
Perfect. At 150, you would go with that. Cool. All right, rock and roll. Hey, we do this thing called the hot seat at the end of the day on a Friday. We have some fun with it, and the first person that's got it today, you don't know what this is?
No.
Shouldn't that be up in the stadium?
What's that?
Shouldn't that be up in the stadium?
Yeah, I stole it. Since you pointed me out, Charles, you're on the hot seat. Welcome to the hot seat. Hey, how this works is as follows. Actually, there it is right there. You didn't answer these. No, we're going to find out today. Have a seat. All right, how this works is we just throw out questions, appropriate questions, okay, deemed appropriate by me, and you just throw them out there at, okay? Sound good? I'll throw the first one out so we kind of get the feel, and then y'all can go, okay? Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Get Out.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right on that. Yeah, Vonna.
What color are you feeling right now and why?
Yellow.
Why?
Yellow's the best color in the entire universe.
It's a color.
Jared, go ahead.
Will you play tonight in the games?
Possibly fourth quarter.
There you go. Favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant.
Come on, easy.
Street time.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
Favorite football team?
Spartans. Steelers.
Last question, anybody?
Favorite badminton.
He's off the hot seat. Charles, have a great day. Quizzes. Hey, if you want your quiz, come on.
Good memory.
Grace, I got yours. That's yours right there. Ivana,
Yes, 1 second.
Ivana.
we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. Win,
Jared.
Sports,
I might be sick.
Oh shit.
Jared, coming. Emma, I got you. Got you, Brian. Josh. Josh. Tony. Did I say Brian? Sorry. Josh. Tony. Eric.
Really?
Fiona.
Why'd you have to write that down?
69.
That's not. That's 6 out of 90 in the third.
Yes, 69.
67.
It's 69. Wait, Joshua, wait for me.
Yvonne, I have your directions